Hello, I'm Luis Faria from KEEP Solutions. We are, for this presentation, we thought to bring a bit the history of our participation on these projects, because we are kind of part of the furniture already of these projects. And I bring you a trip on the memory lane, and then some, in the spirit of the event, some reflections of what do we expect for the next decade, focusing on the collaboration, because it's been wonderful in this past 10 years to have collaborated with so many institutions, and many of them are here. So, I come from KEEP Solutions. We are a company from Portugal that is specialized in the development and support of digital preservation and other information management solutions. We are a spin-off from a University of Minho in the north of Praga. And generally, we actually have been working, and I've personally been working in RODA since before the company was born. So our story starts even further than 10 years ago. I will need to start almost 20 years ago. In 2005, we initiated the RODA project, an open source digital preservation solution. This was a first idea from the Portuguese National Archives, who commissioned the University of Minho to develop this new software. So it was something that was one of the first of its kind. There were not many things around in 2005. And in the next few years, up to 2008, we were able to deliver not just the first version of RODA, our idea for the digital preservation solution, also RODA-In, which is the desktop tool that creates the ZIP. So it already creates a package, which was our package at that time. And together with it, because we were very ambitious, we also created a database preservation format called DBML. Unknown to us, at the same time, the Swiss National Archive was creating CR 1.0. So this was still when we were completely working within the borders and within, so we didn't start the collaboration across the borders. In the end, there was the creation of the company, which then followed up and initiated the support for this open source project. Then there was a few years where nothing happened. And in 2011, we were invited to the Escape project, at the time with Ross and AIT on the head of it. It was an amazing project filled with very interesting institutions. We've learned how to scale the application. We've taken aboard the CR specification. We created the first version of the database preservation toolkit. And we actually started the collaboration between the several institutions and starting to meeting these people and to work together. Connected with this, we also started the 4C project, which was the collaboration for to calculate the costs of curation. Created an online tool at the time, the Curation Cost Exchange. And we started two very interesting projects. So the E-ARK, really the E-ARK started here, and also the Vera PDF. E-ARK at the time was very generic in terms of objectives. But when we finished E-ARK, I'm sorry, I went back in step forward. When we finished E-ARK, there was an enormous amount of new things in that we were able to participate in the creation or integration to our systems. So there there was the CR 2.0, which we collaborated also to produce. The new version of Database Provision Toolkit supporting this specification. There was the E-ARK IPs and our tools, Commons IP, to support this specification, and RODA, of course. The new RODA that was built to be more scalable, because that was one of the things that we've learned in SCAPE previously, and we took some years to catch up to it and to deliver a new version. And also we've helped on the development and the integration of Vera PDF, the validator for PDF-A format. Then between 2017 and 2018, there was a bit of hiatus because this was when the Horizon 2020 finished. And the investment on research of digital preservation kind of halted. And in 2018, we entered kind of a completely new phase where this was no longer about research. This was about putting things into practice and to helping the outtake and so on. So this was the eArchiving building block at the time, supported by CEF. There were a few, so there we had several parallel projects. So RODA was actually running in with funding that was not related to the commission. So we had our own business model at the time, and the open source project continued on its own, but it was immensely helped in terms of vision and alignment by this participation. We participated on the E-ARK IP 2.0 in 2019, and I'm sorry, this is a bit small. Okay. Again, 2021, there were a lot of new releases when we started the archiving initiative with new versions of things and new objectives that we could achieve. So in this 20 years where we participated and the 10 years of e-archiving, we had the opportunity to work with partner institutions from 20 countries in Europe, from 20 member states, so all over Europe. So we learned that in the beginning, not just the ins and outs and outliers of the creating a OIS repository, we actually supported and created a tooling, some tooling for the IP specifications. We've learned how to, we learned about preservation format specifications and how to do validation for them. We learned a lot about database preservation. This was one of our main focuses during this decade. We learned a lot of putting digital preservation and management of records in a large scale, in the hundreds of millions of files and above scale. We've learned a lot about integration with institution systems, interoperability with institution systems, and lately about compliance, standardization, validation, and certification. We've introduced the appraisal, retention, and disposal into our systems, and also focus not just in large institutions as we had before, like National Archives, but also small institutions, and how can we cope with their needs. Currently, RODA is an open source and open source solution for digital preservation with a significant user community. We have been the developer of some, and first adopter of many specifications and tools funded by the EU. We have a well-defined business model for exploring and sustaining the RODA open source solution with good financial sustainability. And we've proven ourselves we have been a good channel for dissemination of the activities of the archiving. And one of the proof of that is that many of the institutions that you heard in the morning have used some of our tools here and there to support their implementations. So what are our thoughts for the next decade? What generally we hope in 2034, which doesn't seem so far away, actually. So I bring you some AI-generated images, so to illustrate the bright new future. So many of the things I'm going to show here, because we are so in this initiative, already being worked on the initiative here and there. So what we would like for 10 years from now is that we have preservation for all domains, both standards for data, metadata, and packaging, and also outreach, having actually the institutions use these standards across the various domains, like science, health, finance, education, government, digital media, and entertainment. We would like or hope for regulation for data producing software. This is, I think it's more of the area of the e-archiving by design, but still we would believe that it would be very good if the software that produces information will be ensured that we have archivability, so we can export information on from their systems and in formats that are adequate for long-term preservation. Because as you know, doing this after creation is always much more difficult. We would like to have adequate preservation and legal backing for preservation for all institutions, which I believe that eArchiving 2.0 will actually bring some aspects that will be very important to allow a market of service providers and enable small institutions to preserve content in a certified environment. And finally, the last area that I would like to see is to actually capitalize on the value of the archive data. So to enable large-scale usage of the archive data for research, for AI, but really coping with the issues of large-scale anonymization, of data cleansing, of compliance with the GDPR and other regulations, and of compatibility, of course, with these platforms. So that's my view on these things, and thank you all for your attention.